We just wrapped up stop number 2 of the MLF Big 5 Pro Circuit on Smith Lake in Alabama. So guess what? It's recap time. Stop number 2 of the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit is March 11th through 14th. It's on Lewis Smith Lake, more commonly referred to just Smith Lake. It's actually the deepest lake in Alabama and covers over 21,000 acres. So it's a big body of water, it's deep, it's relatively clear, and you can really spread out. So a little bit of info about Smith Lake before we get into it. First of all, completely new to me. I'd never been there. There's no weeds, no grass in sight. I like fishing grass. Basically, there's 3 main creeks, or arms, if you will, in this lake. The first being the Sipsey River is actually one of the main creeks, which has the dam attached to it. And then you have 2 really large arms that come off it. One is the Rock Creek, and the other is Ryan Creek. There's also thousands of little pockets and creeks all around this lake. A lot of places to hide and a lot of places for the fish to be. Takeoff for this tournament is way up the Ryan Creek at the one end, and from there guys have miles and miles to run. So for practice, we started off with actually some really cold nights, but relatively warm, warming days, a lot of sun. We are definitely in pre-spawn for this tournament, but if you looked at the long-term forecast, it was getting pretty warm. Temperatures, hitting 70, 80 at some of the days. Water temperature was mid to low 50s in the morning, but it would heat up by the afternoon, and we were seeing temperatures into the low 60s by the time this tournament started. So this all basically means, yes, we're pre-spawn, but there might be a few fish either getting really close to moving up onto beds or even some actually starting to move onto beds. So I kept this in mind the whole time I practiced. I looked shallow, I looked deep, I looked in the back of pockets. Docks are a big thing as well. But basically in my practice I narrowed it down to one area that I really wanted to fish, and that was within a few miles of the dam. I really liked that area. That was about a 20-minute run from takeoff, and then from there I had a ton of options to fish, mostly pockets. I found that after those cold mornings there'd be a lot of bait pushed into these pockets, and you could cruise in and catch a lot of bass really quickly if they were in there feeding. Then once it warmed up, docks seemed to be a really good thing. Some of these docks would actually be floating over 100 or more feet of water, but the bass would be right up underneath the floats of the dock, and you'd skip jigs or swim baits underneath these docks and reel them out right next to the floats, and boom, one would come out and smash it. So that was kind of my plan. I decided to start my tournament day 1 in this pocket, and as you can see here, I get into them right away. I ease my way in, and as I'm coming in, I'm scanning my trolling motor side to side, mainly using forward-facing sonar. I'm looking for one bait, but also active schools. And I see an active school right out in the middle. So this school is actually over about 40 feet of water. I can see the bait ball on my screen, and I can see the bass below the bait ball coming up and feeding on it. So I'm seeing this happen, and I have 2 different things tied on. Basically, swim baits were the deal for me in all of practice. I used a small Lunkerhunt finesse swim bait, but that was really good when the fish were up high feeding on them, and you'd catch them in that 10-foot water column in the top. But these fish, for some reason, were quite a bit deeper. So what I actually had was the same Lunkerhunt finesse swim bait, but I had it on a drop shot for my first couple of fish. So I had a 1/4 ounce drop shot weight on there, but an 18-inch leader. So if you're watching this first fish, basically I cast a drop shot out at them. I let it get almost to the bottom, actually almost hit the bottom of one of them, and then I'd reel it through the school. And the first fish that bites here, I'm actually lifting the drop shot up into the school as I'm watching them live on my live scope, and then boom, that one hits. That's a big one. Watch, there's a whole school of them there. There we go. Get that one in the boat, re-rig, scan again. Oh, there they are. Cast the drop shot at them. I apologize in advance for some of the background noise during this video. There was a few houses being built and it's a little bit noisy. Yes. Number 2. I try to get off the school no matter what. You tend to spook them a little bit, so that kind of broke them up. For the rest of my fish, I had to stay a lot far away from them. They knew I was there. They weren't as dumb anymore. So the rest of my fish I actually caught by casting this small swim bait here. So again, that's the Lunkerhunt finesse swim bait. I'm using just a hand poured 3/16 ounce lead ball head jig, really simple. That's on a small 2/0 hook. And basically I would still use my forward facing sonar, see where they were, but try to keep them a full cast away. And I catch my next 3 fish doing this. Oh, baby. Freaking giant. Freaking giant. Oh my god, look how fat they are. Allergy. Oh my god. There's about 4 little threadfin shad in there. Five fish, baby. And that was basically my day, and that was what scared me about the rest of this tournament. As soon as I left that pocket, in fact, before I even left that pocket, the bait had already left, which I found was very interesting. When I pulled in, I scanned anywhere in that pocket, and there was bait all over the screen. By the time I caught my 5th fish, I could barely see any bait. I ran about 10 more spots where in practice I saw them schooling, and same thing, bait was gone, and I couldn't get the fish to bite. The fish were there, and that's what's really frustrating about this entire event, and it almost makes this forward-facing sonar technology more frustrating. There wasn't one spot I went to that I didn't see a fish on my sonar, and almost all those fish would follow your bait practically right to the boat but not commit. The second there was bait around them, they would commit. If you came into one that they were on a school of bait, they would smash it, but if there was no bait, no bite. So basically I ran around the rest of the lake, hitting all my spots and catching almost nothing. Definitely difficult to have such a phenomenal morning and then a struggle for the afternoon. I had one good bite on a dock and I lost it. Got a good look at that fish. It was about a 3-pounder. That one would have helped. But that was it. So basically I weighed in day 1 with 14 pounds, 6 ounces, and I was in 11th place out of 169 pros, I think it is. Awesome. Unbelievable. The equipment I use, this Daiwa Tatula Elite is my absolute favorite spinning rod for almost everything. This is a 7.3 medium action fast taper. It is a phenomenal rod. It casts a swim bait a mile. I use it for drop shot. I use it for Ned style fishing, basically everything. So for a lot of the drop shot fish were on this exact one, and then for the swim bait fish I actually had it on the same version rod but in the normal Tatula series. So that's why you'll see in the video it's a black rod versus the silver rod of the Tatula Elite. I'm using 8 or 10 pound pound braided line with a 4 or 6 pound fluorocarbon leader. So for my drop shot, I used a 4 pound leader because a lot of those fish were a little bit closer to the boat, a little bit more finicky. I'm dropping right on them, looking at them on my live scope. The swim bait, I used a 6. I like a little bit more shock absorption on that swim bait. 6 pound fluorocarbon leader tied with an FG knot, and I use about a 10-foot leader on that. Also really important, these Daiwa ballistic reels, super smooth drag, very important. I like the 2500 series reel. So here I am, day 2, sitting in 11th place. I actually have a higher blast off number, meaning I actually have a shorter day. On day 1, I got to fish until 5 p.m. Day 2, I had to weigh in at 3 p.m. I started in that pocket where I basically weighed in all 5 of my fish from day 1, and they were not there. Bait was gone. It was a ghost town. So something's going on. I gotta adapt. So I just started running the lake, checked out a few more of my pockets. I basically spend all day. I catch 1 keeper here. It was actually on a school of fish that I caught about 10 non-keepers out of. One really important thing to note about this tournament is the minimum size to weigh in. In most tournaments, largemouth might be 14 or 15 inches, but spots are almost always 12 inches. But in this tournament, we have a 15-inch minimum for both largemouth bass and spotted bass. And let me tell you, it's hard to catch spots over 15 inches. So I start running docks. I had a few docks where I saw a lot of fish, and this specific dock right here is actually the dock where the day before, at the end of day 1, I lost a 3-pounder. So I skip my swim jig underneath this exact same dock, and another 3-pounder, probably not the same fish, but another 3-pounder crushes it. Oh my God! And I load into it, and I pull him just out of the dock so I can see this fish, and pops off. And that was my day. I looked at that fish and I said, there's 10 grand swimming away right there. Basically at that point, had to weigh in with 1 fish, weighing 1 pound, 12 ounces, I think it was. Somehow, I got the second last pay spot in this tournament. They paid to 79th. I finished 78th and got a $5,000 paycheck that essentially covers my entry fee, and it almost felt like I won the lottery by just sneaking into that last pay spot. So all in all, I'm really happy with how this tournament went. I still cashed a check, and I maintained good points. I'm still sitting in the top 50 overall in the season, which, that's just a bonus in itself right there. I'm really looking forward to the next stop here. We have about a month off, and then we're back down South Carolina, Lake Murray coming up, another blueback lake, another lake I've never been to, so I'm looking forward to learning a new one. Thanks for following along, guys, and stay tuned for the next one.